Right, hi folks. This is the third part of my making flat patterns for hats, and we're going to be talking about brims today. We're going to start off with the easy brim and get to the difficult brim. Right, okay, so I've shown in my previous videos how to make your head size hat, and you work out your radius, and then you've got your circle for your head size. So we were working on 22-inch head sizes, so I've stuck with that because it makes it easy all the way through. So what I've done is I've copied my circle for the top of the hat here, and I've also added another line for the seam allowance. And then I decided how wide I wanted my brim. So for example, this is about 3 inches wide. So I just drew another circle all the way around, equidistant at 3 inches all the way around. Now, if you're working this out on paper, you'll have to use a compass and draw circles and things, but I do it on the computer. And then, of course, you add your seam allowance again to the outside. Now, bear in mind, if you're making a brim like this, your brim will be absolutely flat when it's on the hat. This is no shape, it's just a flat brim. So there'll be your hat, and there'll be your brim at the bottom. So let me just mark that up a bit for you so you can see. And brim there, so that'll be so your hat will look like that. Now if you do it very wide, it will flop unless you stiffen it really well, so bear that in mind if you're just doing a circular brim. Now obviously you can make the brim an oval. You can make it equidistant either side, measure out your north, south, east and west points, and then draw a curve to each of those points so that you've got a brim that you can either have wider at the sides, or you could just have it wider at one side and have it like that, or you could cut that out as a halo. It's up to you entirely. So you work on your head size there and work around it for your brim. But again, that will be a flat shape. It won't curve as such. Now, to make a curved brim is slightly more complicated, so I'm going to move up to a nice clean area. So, for example, we have our 22-inch circle. So what we'll do is we'll mark our radius, which is just 3.66, which is about there. Let me move this in so you can see. And we'll make it a little bit thicker so you can see as well. And then we have to have a circle around that. So here we are. That was our original brim. Not brim, original head size rather. So there we are. Now if we want a brim that actually curves downwards, so you're making a bucket hat or something like that and you want some shape to your brim, we need a brim that isn't a complete circle in the middle. So what we need to do is work out exactly how big we need our brim to be. So you'll need to get a calculator. So our brim at the moment is 22 inches. Our circle rather, our head size is 22 inches. Now I'm going to divide that by 5, and that equals 4.4. And I add that to my original measurement of 22. And that gives me a circle of 26.4. So I now need a circle that's about 26.5 inches. So I'll get onto the computer and I'll work out the radius for that. as I've said before, you can easily find out how to work out the radius. So I now need the radius of my circle to be 4.2. So I shall make it 4.2. So I've got my 4.2 radius here, and now I need to make a circle that fits that radius. So I'll put my circle over the top and check it's all equidistant all the way round. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. There we are. So that's my circle, and it's much bigger than my original circle. Now I need to divide it up into 5. Now, if you haven't got a computer that you're able to use, you will have to get a compass and a protractor and everything else and divide it up. And I'm not going to go into how to do that, because you can look it up on the internet fairly easily. So I'm going to make this fit equidistant all the way around, so that all corners touch. So there we have it. So now my circle is divided up into 5 segments. And now what I need to do is get rid of one of those segments. So I'm now going to do another circle. Oh, I don't want that one. Hang on. Let me just get rid of that. I want it to be a segmented circle. Let's just, anyway, stop. So what I need now is a bigger circle that I'm going to get rid of a section of this circle. It sounds a bit complicated, but you'll see what I mean. So I've got another circle here, which I'm going to make much bigger. There we are. Da, da, da. And I'm going to make it so that it follows these points on this circle. Right, let's just get that down a bit so we can get the right size. In. So what I'm doing is I've done another circle, but it's missing out that whole triangular section there. So now this, in effect, will be our inner brim. So this section is the inner part of our brim. And we now need to do this again with a bigger section for the actual brim. So I'm just going to duplicate and make it bigger. So you decide how big you want your brim to be, how wide you want it, etc. So this now is our brim. So you can see this section here is now the brim. Ignore this triangular bit here. So you can make the brim any shape you want now. You can alter the shape, you can alter the width, you can have it wider at one side or whatever, as long as it fits in with your gaps, so that you're in a line here. This line here will always measure 22 inches. So that line will measure 22. Now, how you divide up is entirely up to you, because depending if you divide your circle up into 6 or 4, it will make your brim either more inclined or less inclined. So it really depends how you want your brim to look. But that is your brim. So what will happen is, let me just get rid of that so you can't see that bit and it doesn't put you off. So what will happen is that you will cut out just this section of brim. So that's how you work out how to do a brim that's got an incline. And as I say, depending on if you add more sections in, you'll have a smaller gap if you add more. So for example, let me just show you. Oh, so if I made this, if I made that a six corners, you see, you'd have a smaller gap. So the greater the incline when you put it together, and if you did it more, it would be different again. So it's up to you really, and you have to play about with how you decide you want your brim to be. Okay, so I hope that made sense. It was a bit fiddly to do because I kept losing the computer program and I kept losing the video, but I get there in the end. Anyway, I'm just going to show you a picture now. I printed out my brim, obviously in pieces because it's bigger than an A4 sheet. Sellotaped it together and put it with my 22-inch head size so that you can see it does work. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye.